المحبة خير، ومن يحمل في قلبه المحبة والخير والعطاء يحقق لنفسه ولمن حوله السعادة والخير.
أقسم بالله العظيم أن أحافظ مخلصا على النظام الجمهوري الديمقراطي الشعبي، وأن أحترم الدستور والقوانين، وأن أرعى مصالح الشعب وسلامة الوطن، وأن أعمل وأناضل لتحقيق أهداف الأمة العربية في الوحدة والحرية والاشتراكية.
Mr. President, you have invited us to Damascus, and you have not given an interview to the American media since this crisis began. What is it you want us to know?
I would like to reiterate what I used to say after 11th of September to every American delegation I met. First of all, I think the American people should know more about what's happening beyond the ocean. Second, the American media, I would like them to tell only the truth about what's happening in the world. And for the American administration, don't look for puppets in the world. Only deal with administration on people that can tell you no about the truth. Because what's happening in the world now is taking the world toward chaos. What we need now is we need to deal with the reality. So the message now is about the reality.
Tell me what the reality here is, your country is. What is the reality?
It's too complicated. It takes hours to talk about.
Then I will ask my question.
So let's be specific.
Okay. Not long ago, you were widely seen as a fresh, pragmatic leader, a doctor whose life was in healing people. Now, sir, much of the world regards you as a dictator and a tyrant. What do you say to that?
What's important how the Syrian people look at you, not how you look at yourself. So I don't have to look at myself. This is first. Second, it's about the system. You have a dictator and you have dictatorship. There's a big difference between the two. Dictatorship is about the system. We never said we are a democratic country, but we're not the same. We are moving forward in reform, especially during the last 9 months. So I think we are moving forward. It takes a long time. It takes a lot of maturity to be full-fledged democratic country, but we are moving in that direction. For me as a person, whatever I do should be based on the will of the people, because you need popular legitimacy. And this is against dictatorship for a person.
But you talk about the support of your people. You did have the support of your people, and then began these demonstrations, which I will discuss in more detail, and crackdowns, and you have people now who don't want you to leave. You don't have the support of your people, of all of your people.
You always have people that don't want you to be in that position. That's self-evident. That's normal. You cannot say that having the support of the people or the people support you means something absolute. You're talking about the majority, and people are against you. They're not majority yet. When they are majority, you don't have to stay in that position.
But you have people who are against you who are protesting every day. It started as a simple, not so simple, but it started with people marching with olive branches and with their children, asking for more freedom of press, for freedom of expression. And much of the country now, sir, is not supporting you. That's what your crisis is about.
Yeah. That's why we had the reform started quickly after the very beginning that you described as simple. So we didn't play the role of stubborn government. They said they need more freedom. We right away had new party laws, new media law, new election law, new local administration law, and we are revising our constitution now, showing your opinion, whether you like somebody or doesn't like, government or president or whoever, should be through the election, the ballot box. This is the only way.
If you have elections, will they be elections for president?
No, now we're going to have, first of all, the local administration election this month.
Local administration, but what about for president?
Yeah, after that, we're going to have the parliamentarian election, which is the most important. Talking about presidential election,
Yeah.
it's going to be in 2014. This is
People don't want to wait that long until 2014.
Which people?
The people who are protesting.
How much? How many? Are they majority or not? That's why you need to wait first of all for the parliamentarian election. This election will tell you, are you going to have majority or minority? Then when you can think about presidential election, but not before. Before that, you don't have any indication, any clear indication.
In 2014, when there are presidential elections, will you allow opposition parties?
That's why we are changing the constitution.
Okay. And if somebody else wins, will you step down in 2014?
If he wins, he's going to be in my position. I don't have to step down. He's going to be president. So you don't step down. He will win the election. He will be president. So step down means you leave. While if he wins the election, he's going normally. He's going to be in that position instead of me.
Mr. President, you once had positive things to say about President Obama. Now President Obama says, and I quote, "President Assad has lost his legitimacy to rule. He should step down." What do you say to President Obama?
I'm not a political commentator. I comment more on action rather than word. But at the same time, if I want to care about something like this, I would care about what the Syrian people wants. Nobody else outside Syria is part of our political map. So whatever they say, we support, we don't, he's legitimate or he's not, it's the same for me. For me, what the Syrian people want, this is the popular legitimacy that put me in that position. And this is the only force that can make me outside. So anyone could have his own opinion, whether president or official or any citizen, it's the same for me, outside our border.
Public opinion doesn't matter.
Outside Syria?
Outside Syria.
No, it's Syrian issue.
But Syria is almost completely isolated. The Prime Minister of Turkey, who was your ally, has said, and I quote, "No regime can survive by killing or jailing." Jordan says you should step down. The Arab League, Syria was a founding member, have said that they have suspended you. You've lost all the support of your neighbors and friends. Does that matter to you?
That depends how do you describe or how do you define isolation and support. How did they support me and how did they isolate me? Isolation is not by visitors or by supporting by words. It's about your role, your position. Nobody can can isolate Syria because of our position. That happened in 2005 and they couldn't. Bush tried to isolate Syria, Chirac, Blair, everybody. They couldn't. We have a role to play. We are related to different problems. If they isolate Syria, Syria will collapse and it's going to be domino effect. Everybody will suffer. So they don't have interest to isolate Syria. We're not isolated.
Sir, they are isolating you. They have economic sanctions against you. They may have further sanctions. All of these neighbors, so-called friends, have now abandoned you.
Yeah.
So you are isolated.
We've been under embargo for the last 30, 35 years. It's not something new. But it's fluctuating up and down depending on the situation. Those countries that you're talking about,
Yeah.
they have little influence on the situation in Syria.
Your neighbors have no influence?
No, we still have good relation with them. We're not isolated. You have people coming and going, you have trade, you have everything. So that's why I said, how do you define isolation? If you don't define it, it's just term. In reality, we're not isolated yet.
They have sanctions against you.
What kind of sanctions?
Economic sanctions against you.
It's not implemented. They're going to suffer. The countries surrounding Syria, they're going to suffer. What about the transit? What about many, many other things? They have common interests with us. They won't implement it. Or they cannot, or they're going to suffer. That depends on the option that they're going to take. That's why I said isolating Syria is not something easy. It's not only a decision then you implement. It's not easy. So it's not about the economy. It's about the whole role in the political arena in the Middle East. It's not only about the economy.
You know, sir, that many leaders in the region have been overthrown. You have seen, I'm certain, the pictures of Egypt's former president Mubarak in jail, pictures of, in Libya, of Muammar Gaddafi killed. Are you afraid that you might be next?
No, I'm afraid that the people won't support me, Syrian people.
That they won't
But
support
I'll be
you?
happy with it. I mean, the only thing that you could be afraid of as president to lose the support of your people. That's the only thing that you should be afraid of. Not to be in jail or things like this.
Do you feel now that you still have the support of your people?
If you don't have the support of the people, you cannot be in this position. This is Syria. It's not easy. It's very difficult country to govern if you don't have the public support.
But, Mr. President, you have people an hour and a half away from here protesting. You have people who have been killed and people who have been tortured, and still they're protesting. And you say you have the support of your people?
No, you are mixing between the protesters and the killing. It's different. Now we are having terrorists in many places killing.
Now?
No, not only now. No, from the very beginning. No, not now. Now it's recognized in the media, that's the difference. But from the very first few weeks, we had those terrorists. They are getting more and more aggressive. They've been killing. We have over 1,100 soldiers and policemen killed. Who killed them? Peaceful demonstrations? This is not logical. This is unpalatable.
Let me ask the question again.
Yeah.
Do you feel now, even with people who had been protesting, that you have the support of your people?
The majority or the minority? Because you are talking about protesters.
The majority of the people you feel still support you.
Not the majority of the people are in the middle. Always. The majority of the Syrian people are in the middle. And then you have people who support you, and you have people who are against you.
Yep.
So the majority always in the middle. Those majority are not against you. If they are against you, you cannot have stable, most of the cities, not Syria, let's say. As you see, you've been here for 2 days now.
You feel the majority of the people in this country support you?
I said the majority are in the middle.
And
the majority are not against, to be precise.
The majority that is in the middle support you?
Yeah.
Okay. The protest really began after the detention and torture of children who were writing graffiti calling for your downfall. I've seen awful pictures of what happened. Why was there such a brutal crackdown?
What happened?
Well, I'll give you some examples, and you can tell me if you've seen them. These are some of the images and stories, and some of the images that I saw. A 13-year-old boy who was arrested in April. A month later, his body was returned to his family, bearing scars of torture. A famous cartoonist whom you know, who was critical of you, badly beaten, his arms were broken. A singer, famous singer, who wrote a popular song calling for your ouster, he was found with his throat cut. You have seen these pictures, have you not?
No, but I
Is this news to you?
No, it's not news. I met with his father, with the father of that child, and he said that he wasn't tortured, and he appeared on the media. We have to see things with a stereoscopic vision with 2 eyes, not with 1 eye, to be frank.
The cartoonist. The cartoonist who was critical of you, I've seen his pictures. His hands were broken, he was beaten.
Many people criticized me. Did they kill all of them? Who killed who? Most of the people that are being killed are supporters of the government, not the vice versa.
But in the beginning, what about the singer with his throat cut?
I don't know about him. I don't know about
everything. He was a famous singer, a famous song. You don't know about it?
No, I don't think he's famous. I don't know about him.
You don't know about it? Well,
Maybe he's famous in the United States, but not in Syria. Do you know about him? This is editing. I don't know. You don't know? No. I didn't hear the story the first time. For the child, I met with his father, and there was a special investigation committee to see if there was torture. There was no torture. This is only false allegations, to be frank with you. That's why I said at the very beginning, my message for the media to tell the truth, not to listen to rumors.
Well, in the beginning, these protests, the women were marching with children carrying olive branches. Nobody at that point was asking for you to step down. It has escalated. Do you think that your forces crack down too hard?
They are not my forces. They are military forces, belong to the government.
Okay, but you're the
government. I don't own them. I'm president.
Okay.
I don't own the country. So they're not
my
forces.
No, but you have to give the order.
No. We have in the Constitution, in the law, the mission of the institution to protect the people, to stand against any chaos or any terrorist. That's their job according to the Constitution and to the law of the institution.
The crackdown was without your permission?
What do you mean by crackdown?
The reaction to the people, some of the murders, some of the things that happened.
No, there's a difference between having policy to crack down and between having some mistakes committed by some officials. There's a big difference. For example, when you talk about policy, it's like what happened in Guantanamo when you have policy of torture, for example. We don't have such a policy to crack down or torture people. You have mistakes committed by some people, or we have some allegations about mistakes. That's why we have special committee to investigate what happened. And then we can tell, according to the evidences, you have mistakes or not. But as a policy, no, we don't have.
Have there been mistakes made in this crackdown? Yes?
Self-evidently, yes, for one reason, because when you don't prepare yourself for a new situation, you're going to make mistakes.
Okay. Have the people who made the mistakes been found accountable? Have they been punished?
Some of them, yes, according to the evidences. But you cannot punish anyone according to rumors or allegations. So this is judicial committee, independent judicial committee. It's its job to detain people if they are guilty and to send them to the court for prosecution.
So some people have been found accountable?
Yeah, according to my knowledge from the very beginning.
Last week, an independent United Nations commission who interviewed more than 225 people issued a report. What it said was that your government committed crimes against humanity. And they went on torture, rape, and other forms of sexual violence against protesters, including against children. What do you say to them? I mean, what I am saying again and again is that protesters were beaten. Things happened to them. Do you acknowledge that? Do you acknowledge what the UN said?
Very simply, I would say send us the documents and the concrete evidences that you have, and we'll see if that's true or not. You have a lot of allegations now.
Did the UN not send you these documents?
Nothing at all.
You mean the first you're
They
here?
didn't send, they don't have even the names. Who are the rape people or who are the torture people? Who are they? We don't have any name. They didn't.
But they've issued,
sorry?
Mr. President, they have issued this report. They have accused you and your regime.
According to what?
Well, according to what they said, it's 225 people, witnesses, men, women, children, whom they interviewed and identified. And that's when they called it crimes against humanity.
We are government. We have government. We have institutions. They should send us the documents. As long as we don't see the documents and the evidences, we cannot say yes. That's normal. We cannot say just because the United Nations. Who said that the United Nations is a credible institution, first of all?
Who says that the United
Nations... Who said? We know that you have the double standard in the world, in the United States policy, in the United Nations that's controlled by the United States and the West. So it has no credibility. So it's about evidences and documents. Whenever they have, we can discuss it. Just to discuss a report that we don't see any reality related to it, just a waste of time.
You do not think that the United Nations is a credible organization?
No, for one reason. They haven't implemented, they never implemented any of the resolution that related to the Arab world, for example, to the Palestinians, to the Syrian land. Why don't they? If they talk about human rights, what about the Palestinians suffering in the occupied territory? What about my land and my people that left their land because it's occupied by Israel? Of course not.
You haven't
for every citizen, it's not for me as president. I'm telling you about the perception in the whole region.
You do not think the United Nations is credible?
No, never. It's not something new. Before my generation, it's something we inherited as a concept, as belief.
You have an ambassador to the United Nations?
Yeah, it's a game you play. That doesn't mean you believe in it.
I see.
Yeah.
Even some of your armed forces are not remaining loyal. Some of them have defected, and some of them are fighting now against you.
What do you mean by defected?
Well, some of your armed forces have left the military.
No, but every year in the normal situation, you have thousands of soldiers that fled from the army. You have it normal. When you have this situation, you have a little bit more. You have higher percentage. And then you have some few officers that leave the army to be against you. And this you cannot say, if you talk about deflection in the army, is different from having few people deflecting. So we cannot generalize.
You don't think that there are a great many?
No,
you think it's just a few?
You have different situation. You are in Syria now. You see most of the things are stable. If you have defection in the army, you cannot have stable country or stable major cities like Damascus, Aleppo, and the majority of Syria is stable.
You describe your country now as a stable country?
In most of the areas, yes. You have trouble, you have turbulence, but not to the extent that you have a divided army. If you have divided army, it's going to have real war. You don't have war. You have instability is different from war.
You do not feel now that you are at the brink of a civil war?
No.
No?
No, not because of our policy, because of the history of this society. We don't think that we are on the brink of civil war, because the people are aware about the need to live together. That's why.
I want to make this clear. You say that the country in general is stable. Certainly we see here in Damascus, since we've been here, it's business as usual. But there are areas of this country, an hour and a half away, in which there is still fighting, in which there is still protests.
That's true.
Do you see that as something important, people fighting for their freedom, or do you see it as a little something here and a little something there?
No, you have different components. Not everybody is fighting for the freedom. You have people who want freedom, and that's why we have reform, because we recognize those people. And most of the people that they need freedom, they didn't demonstrate. Not everybody in the street demonstrating for freedom. You have different components. You have extremists, religious extremists. You have outlaws, people who have been convicted in the court and they've been escaping for years now, drug smugglers, and you have like-minded people of Al-Qaeda and those. So it's different components. You have money coming from outside just for the media, propaganda. They give money to people, they demonstrate for 15 minutes or for half an hour, then in the media you see demonstration. So you have different components. You have everything. You have real demonstrations, you have peaceful demonstration, you have militants, you have terrorists, you have everything in the same place sometimes.
So here you have what seems to be much of the world condemning you. So what's the biggest misconception? Why is there this misconception, and you were saying the country is stable, we have some factions. What's the misconception?
First of all, who is the most of the world? Most of the West, you mean?
Not just the West,
Not
Turkey.
most of the world.
Turkey, Jordan,
Turkey is not most of
the
the
members, that's not the West, the members of the Arab League, they are saying to you, they are imposing sanctions. Some of them are telling you to step down. These are your neighbors.
There's agenda for those countries. It's a political game. It's not because they don't care about the killing, they don't care about democracy. Most of these countries, they have agenda. I'm not going to talk about it now. I'm not going to talk about their agenda because we have information, but when we have evidence, we will announce it. But this is not because they care about the Syrian people.
Right.
If we talk about Turkey and the Arab League.
Yeah.
But going back to the condemnation, no, we still have good relation with most of the world, not vice versa. Even with the neighboring country, we still have normal relation.
With whom?
With our neighbors. With
Not
Iraq.
Jordan.
With Lebanon, we have trade, we have normal.
Well, Lebanon. Yeah.
With Iraq.
But what is the agenda, for example, of Turkey or Jordan or the Arab League?
I'd rather ask them. I wouldn't answer on their behalf. They will tell you if they have agenda.
Do they want to destroy you?
You should ask them. I cannot talk about their will. I don't know about their will, to be frank.
One of the things that the Arab League has asked for consistently is to have monitors, to have objective people come and visit these areas where there is discontent.
Yeah.
Will you now allow monitors to come into this country?
Of course. I said
Of course?
we want that, but in line with our sovereignty.
What does that mean?
What does it mean?
Yeah,
we do everything in cooperation with the Syrian government. You have state here.
Yeah, but
They cannot just come and do whatever they want.
But if you have monitors, they have to be free to look around. They can't
Of course
be.
they are free.
They can't. But they're saying they have to be free with your people accompanying them. Then they're not independent.
They ask for protection, so they need our people. They are asking for protection. How can they go to conflicts and being killed? If they want, this is their responsibility.
I'm going to ask this again because I want it very clear. This is important. Will you allow monitors, outside monitors, to come into your country and look around, to go to these other cities, to Homs, for example? Will you allow them to come Yes or no?
Yeah, as principle, of course we said yes.
Under what circumstances?
To be in line with our sovereignty, to do everything in cooperation with the Syrian government. They cannot say they're going to send, for example, 15,000. It's two sides. It's contract. You don't make contract from one side. It's a technical issue. You have technicalities. I don't know everything about these technicalities.
Okay, but are you...
How to move, how to prepare, how to protect them, what their job, what's our job. We are party. You cannot have protocol, just to explain to you very clearly. You cannot accept protocol that's made there and we don't have anything to discuss, very simply.
Are you now negotiating with the Arab
Of
League?
course, that's what we are doing. Yeah, of course, we're
You
still
are?
negotiating, yes.
So you think that monitors will be allowed to come soon?
Of course, I said we ask this. Before
You
they,
ask for monitors?
Yeah, before they have this initiative.
Can they travel wherever they want?
Of course. But according to certain rules, how to discuss these rules, they're going to, when you make contract, you discuss it. At the very beginning, they didn't want to discuss it with us. We said, no, if we don't discuss it, we cannot sign it. It should be discussed in details.
Are you now discussing with the Arab League allowing monitors to come?
Yeah, that's what it is.
Can outside foreign reporters come? They have not been allowed.
No, they were allowed, and you are here.
I am here, and I have a correspondent here.
And
But,
but you've been here for 2 days now. Did anyone tell you where to go, where not to go? Nobody. You are free to go wherever you want.
I am appreciative that I have been allowed here and that you've granted an interview. Can other foreign correspondents, American and others, come into this country now?
Yeah, exactly.
We have not heard this. You are saying yes?
You have to hear the truth. You have to look for the truth.
Well, I'm asking you now.
But that doesn't mean they can come without a visa. We are a country. They have to take visa. We give visa to people. Maybe we don't give visa to people. We like any other country. Again, it's about sovereignty.
Okay, but
that doesn't mean anyone can come anytime and do whatever they do.
I grant you, but as soon as you say visa, it means this one can't come. That in general now.
Yeah.
Can foreign correspondents come to this country?
And we've been receiving the delegation from Europe, from the United States, from the rest of the world.
No, sir, you have not been receiving delegations.
I met with them.
Foreign correspondents?
Of course, foreign correspondents. They can give you the articles. They made interviews with me.
But now...
I met with 2 British recently, 1 French. We had, and others.
Let me ask you once more time so we're clear. In general, can foreign correspondents, if they are accredited, come to this country?
Of course they can come.
They can?
Yeah, of course.
You said that if there is any outside attempt to bring you down, it would mean an earthquake. What do you mean by that?
Syria is the fault line in the Middle East. You know, the Middle East generally is very diverse in ethnicities, in sects, in religions. But Syria, the most diverse, and this is the fault line where all these diversity meet. So it's like the fault line of the earth. Mm-hmm. When you play with it, you'll have earthquake that is going to affect the whole region. So playing doesn't mean to overthrow me or to deal with me. It's not about me. It's about the fabric of the society in this region. That's what I meant.
You know, your father led this country for 30 years until his death. You have now led the country for more than a decade.
Yeah.
If the Arab Spring means anything, it seems to be that the era of one family rule is over.
Yeah. No, I never supported being a dynasty. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, being a dynasty.
You're not raising your son to succeed.
No. And my father never spoke with me in politics. You don't believe this. And he never tried to prepare me. He always wanted me to be a president. Against what you hear in the media that he asked me to come from London. He wanted me to go back to London to continue, and I refused.
But your older brother was supposed to take your father's place. When he was killed, your father asked you to come back.
My brother had no position when my father was there, and I had no position. I was nothing in the party. I was in the military since I was doctor, nothing else.
But your father did not expect his sons to take his place?
Never. He never spoke about this.
Really?
Yeah.
Then with all due respect, you're a doctor, you're an ophthalmologist. How did you become the leader of this country?
I was a military doctor, and according to our laws, that's military law, you can move from sector to sector within the army.
Okay.
So I left the I was a military doctor. Even when I was in London, I was a military doctor. The army sent me to London, not the Ministry of Higher Education, for example, or anything, or the university. And I was in the army since 1985, since I was a student at the school. Few people knew that. I wasn't a civil doctor. So anyway, when I became president, I became president through the party after President Assad died. When he was alive, I didn't have any position.
But when your father died, the son became the leader.
Yes.
So there were not free elections to make you the leader.
No, anyway, we don't have free election. We have referendum. This is our constitution.
So your constitution said we want the son.
No, not the constitution. The party.
The party said.
And the people demonstrating, and they surrounded the parliament. They said we need the president. So many people who didn't want the president in the government, they accepted this new president, and I nominated myself. Before that, I never thought about it.
So when you have elections, which you say is in 2014, you will have opposition parties?
Yeah.
Yes?
We have them already.
Okay,
now.
and if they want somebody else and not you, you say okay and you step down?
The people will say okay. If the people say okay, of course you have to leave. That's not self-evident. You don't have to discuss it. To be president while the people don't want you, how can you succeed?
You are not training your eldest son, who is now 8,
He's
to take your place?
I was never trained to be in this place.
Do you sometimes wish that you were still an ophthalmologist?
No, because I was in the public sector anyway. As son of president, I couldn't have my own clinic and get money from the people. So I was in public sector, now in wider public sector, in the same place. So you wish you still have a kind of, let's say, emotional feeling toward that job, and I still have my friend. I'm still in touch with the new innovations in that field. But you cannot look back to see yourself as a doctor. Now you have more important position.
You have said often that you don't see yourself doing this job for life. You've said you're doing it for your country. With all the turmoil in your country, is it perhaps better for Syria that you no longer remain its leader?
I don't have problem. For me, Syria is a project of success. If you don't succeed, you don't have to stay in that position. And that success, again, depends on the public support. Without public support, you cannot. Whether you're elected or not, it's not about election now. It's about public support. This is the most important thing. So when I feel that the public support declined, I won't be here. Even if they ask or not, I shouldn't be here if there's no public support.
Okay.
That's conclusive.
You are still having protests. And now your military is involved, and there are armed people on the other side. There is turmoil in your country. But you are saying that, in general, you have the support of your people.
Yeah, but let's wait for the elections to
That's
be
true. No, but
clear.
this is 2011. We're talking. This can't go on for 2 years.
No. I'm talking now about this next election. Now we're going to have the parliamentary elections.
And?
That will tell about, I belong to a party. I belong to Ba'ath party. We'll see what the position of our party. Because this is the indication. It's important. It's not only the person. You're part of another party, of another identity.
Yeah, but your party is not going to want to give up power.
Yeah, no, to give up? Why to give up? It's a party. It has the right, like any other party, to compete and win elections. But
So
to see through the election, do we still have support as a party? If yes, this is an option, and if no, they have another option.
And your parliamentary elections, which are when, in 2 months?
In 2 to 3 months.
And they will be open enough so that people
course.
can vote against it, and that would be the end of the Ba'ath party and you, as terms of leadership?
If the people said no to the Ba'ath party, if they lost, you can say this is the end. If they win, how can you say this is the end? If they win the election, it's the election.
Is there an opposition that they can go to?
We have opposition, but it takes time to have strong opposition. You have so many figures now. If they unify themselves and go to the election, you can have one strong election. That depends on the tactic that they're going to adopt. I cannot tell you if they're going to be strong or not. I don't know. And I don't know about how much among the people they have, how much support they have among the people. I cannot tell you.
Before I ask other questions, I want to go back again to the protesters. Do you think that the crackdown in the beginning was too much?
As I say, it's about personal mistakes, not about policy. There was no policy of cracking down.
Who made
There was
it?
policy of facing the terrorists. When you have militants, you have to face the militants. You don't allow in the United States to have militants. And remember what happened in Los Angeles in the 90s when you sent the army to the city to face the terrorists. Did the same.
Our protests, we don't kill people, and we have press seeing it
but
all.
nobody knows yet who killed the people. Because
Well-
the same question: who killed the 1,100 soldiers? If you don't know who killed those, you can tell who killed the civilians.
The crackdown in the beginning, the brutality, do you think it went too far?
I cannot tell you this without the evidence. You ask me to tell you according to rumors
Okay.
or to reports. It's not enough for me as president. For me, when there's policy, I could say yes or no. When there's individuals with concrete evidence who committed
Okay.
mistake, I say yes or no.
Did you give the order for the crackdown?
No, we give the order to implement the constitution and the law. That's the order, and that's the job of the president.
But who gave the order to react against the
You
protesters?
don't need order because this is their job.
Well, somebody had to
No.
say, use guns. Somebody had to say
No.
there are arrests.
There was even written not to use guns. That's why I said it wasn't policy. Their job is to prevent people like any other country. You have their own means. Whenever they used machine guns against civilians, this is breaching of the law.
It happened.
In some cases, yes. And they were caught and they were detained, I mean.
People went from houses to houses. Children were arrested. I saw those pictures.
But to be frank with you, Barbara, I don't live here. How did you know this? We have to be here to see. We don't see this. So it cannot depend on what you hear in the
But
United
I
States.
saw
You have to-
reporters who brought back pictures.
Yeah, but how did you verify those pictures? Yeah, so that's why we are talking about false allegations and distortion of reality in this region. Most of the things that happened in Syria not reflected in the media. I'm being frank with you. So I cannot answer about fake pretenses. I can only talk about reality.
Some people say that it's not the protests that may bring you down, but the economic sanctions are now, not just the West, but as we said, your former allies have imposed economic sanctions on your country. Shell Oil, for example, which is the largest oil production in Syria, has stopped production. How much of the economic sanctions going to hurt Syria?
How much it's difficult to tell, but it will hurt from us one aspect, but from another aspect it will have positive effects because, of course, this is surprising. Actually, we were under strong sanction in the second half of the 80s, and we built our industry in that period of time. So you can use sanction. For example, the agreement between Syria and Turkey wasn't fair. It was against our interests. Many industrialists in Syria, many businessmen, most of the economic sector were against it, and they asked our government many times to stop working with this treaty. But they sent to Syria, I think, 2 folds export, something like this. I don't have the numbers now. So you have, if you're smart enough, if you're creative enough, every cloud has silver lining. And we have a lot of political cloud in this region. So we have a lot of silver lining. But you have to see the silver lining to know how to have the positive. So it will affect you badly from one side, but you can decrease the harm. I wouldn't say you can win now. Let's not exaggerate. But you can decrease this harm and get some benefits from it.
How can you get benefit from economic sanctions?
Depends on yourself. First of all, we're not an oil-producing country. We're not like Iraq. Iraq was oil dependent. We're not oil dependent. We produce. We can live. We export the food. We eat our food.
So you were saying that it will take more, maybe creativity, more industry in this own country to become independent.
Exactly. And we can. We don't have a problem with this. And this could be the strong point of Syria. That's why I said they cannot isolate Syria.
They cannot isolate.
No.
I have seen the markets filled with food, so you are able to to keep feeding your people?
Of course, no, we don't have trouble. We can live 2 years without with full embargo. We export wheat to many countries.
Your wife was raised and went to school in England. It has been said that she is a force for moderation. I'd like to know, when you and she discuss things, what has she said about what's happening in your country?
We used to live as one family in Syria, because Syria is a small country. Whenever you have one crime, the whole country will hear about it. It's a very safe country. Of course, we feel the same pain. We feel sorry about what's happening. But at the end, the discussion is always, and I think everywhere in Syria, is about what can we do to have to prevent more blood shedding in Syria.
Your wife has her own projects in the country, yes.
Development project, charity, of course. Yeah.
But do you discuss the situation
of
with
course,
your wife?
Yeah. That's what I said. Part of the solution is how to make life better in different aspects. Development is part of the solution. It's not only about demonstrations and militants and terrorists and things.
It's how to make the country better. Is your wife a source of support for you?
Of course, all my family.
Well, let me ask about the children, because you have 3 young children, 9, 8, and 6.
Yeah.
What have you told them about what's happening in this country?
The reality.
Which is what?
What
do you say to them?
Especially
the older boys.
I told them about terrorists. I told them about innocent people being killed, about investigation. We have to know who, we have to look for the reason, everything.
You've told them about innocent people getting killed?
Of course.
Some of whom are children?
We didn't talk about whether innocent is innocent, whether his children or he's innocent.
Do they see pictures? Do they have Facebook
of course,
or YouTube?
Of course.
Do they ask questions?
They can watch the internet every day. Of course,
they watch the internet?
They are very curious to know.
What do they say to you?
About the question about what's happening. Why do you have militants? Why do you have evil people? Why do those people want to kill?
I want to hear the answers. What do you say?
I told them about everything. Sometimes people commit mistakes. Sometimes you have bad people. In every society you have bad people. So they kill more to undermine the government. That's what you explain to children.
How does this all end? How do you restore peace?
As I said, regarding by reform and facing the terrorists.
Is the reform too little, too late?
No, because anyway the reform will not have direct impact on the terrorists, because most of the terrorists, and I would say all the terrorists, they don't have political agenda. They don't care about the reform anyway. The reform is for the majority in the middle that I told you about, and the people who support you, and the people who are against you. But terrorists don't care about this.
Will you allow freedom of expression, freedom of press?
Why did we change all this law? Why did we have this package of new laws for that? We have it. We already have it.
You don't have freedom of press. You can't criticize you.
That depends on the law. You have in every society, you have I wouldn't call it taboo. You have limits.
Taboos? Not in mine. We have freedom of press. How do you hope that you will be remembered?
By doing the best I can for this country. Whether you agree or whether the people agree or don't agree, but at the end, I wasn't puppet. I care a lot about being independent, president for independent Syria, and do my best according to my convictions. That's the most important thing. At the end, even if they disagree with you, they will respect you.
What do you think is the biggest misconception that my country has of what's happening here, if indeed there is a misconception?
Misconception about a lot of things I cannot tell you, because it's so many facts, distorted facts, you have them in the media. But the most important thing, as accumulation of these facts, you don't have vision. The problem with the West in general, especially the United States, they don't have vision about, at least my region. I wouldn't talk about the rest of the world. Failing in Iraq, failing in Afghanistan, failing in fighting terrorism. The situation is getting worse and worse in the rest of the world. The question you ask as American, what did you get? Where did you win? Well, you spend trillions where you could spend a few hundred of millions and get better results. So that it harms your interest, but at the same time, it harms others' interests. So this is the misconception, I think.
Dealing with the protesters, what is the the misconception, if there is any,
about this,
about the
okay.
protests.
Yeah.
That's what is being focused on now.
Okay. We don't kill our people. Nobody kill, no government in the world kill its people unless it's led by a crazy person. For me as president, I became president because of the public support. It's impossible for anyone in this state to give order to kill people. We have militants, those militants killing soldiers and killing civilians. This morning we lost 9 civilians killed in Homs, in the middle of Syria, and they are supporters. Most of the victims are government supported. That's something they don't know. They think every civilian is demonstrator and every civilian is against the government, which is not true.
But the protesters in the beginning who were killed,
Yeah.
what about them?
What do you mean?
Well, what I was trying to get is we see, our view is there were peaceful protesters.
Yeah.
Okay. Our view is there were peaceful protesters. They were killed. Some were tortured. It was a brutal reaction. Are we wrong in thinking that?
Every single, every brutal reaction was by individual, not by institution. That's what you have to know. Not by institution. Institution means policy. We don't have policy. We don't have institution that kill people or give order for brutal reaction. This is individual, and that's what I described as individual mistakes.
Okay. Done by the military or done by whom?
We don't know everything.
But
in some cases done by the police, in some cases done by civilians. Civilians who support the government, not by government, not by police.
But not by your command?
No. We don't have, no one's command. There was no command to kill or to be brutal.
So that was individual people
Of
or
course,
individual
definitely.
overreacting?
That depends, because when you have chaos in some areas, anyone could make this mistake or committed crime or aggression or whatever.
Are you remorseful?
No, I regret. You regret when you do mistakes, when you commit a mistake. I always try to protect my people. How can I feel remorseful if I try to protect the Syrian people?
Do you feel guilty?
I did my best to protect the people, so you cannot feel guilty when you do your best. You feel sorry for the life that has been lost, but you don't feel guilty when you don't kill people. So it's not about guilty. You do your best, and you have to do your best, and you have to fight terrorists to protect the other civilians in Syria.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
وأن المحبة خير، ومن يحمل في قلبه المحبة والخير والعطاء يحقق لنفسه ولمن حوله السعادة والخير.
أقسم بالله العظيم أن أحافظ مخلصا على النظام الجمهوري الديمقراطي الشعبي، وأن أحترم الدستور والقوانين، وأن أرعى مصالح الشعب وسلامة الوطن، وأن أعمل وأناضل لتحقيق أهداف الأمة العربية في الوحدة والحرية والاشتراكية.